Hi everybody, I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody had a great weekend. So today, a little different. This is going to be a live, just because we changed schedules around a little bit and we've added the snowdrop. Now originally the snowdrop was going to be included in the winter white arrangement just because it obviously is a winter flower, and obviously those of you in the UK, a lot of parts of the UK have snow at the moment, so very appropriate flower to be making today. But so the snowdrop, obviously being a very dainty flower, I decided it would be better to have this as an individual component. So this is obviously a really nice flower to make in air drying clay, which is what I'm going to be using today, or obviously it can be made in sugar. And when we come on to do some of the components, I'll just explain about, like, obviously if you were doing this in sugar and things. Now, the snowdrop, in your download, you have a download which goes through the actual components. So what we're going to do, the checklist. All right, so this is our checklist here, which obviously this has been up for about 3 weeks. And this just goes through, obviously, what I'm using. And obviously, I just checked the little boxes as I was pulling things this morning ready for today's session. So that's going to be, I'm going to use an air drying clay. So with the air drying clay, I'm using a number 12 ball of white and then a number 12 ball of leaf green. So you can either color your white air drying clay with a leaf green color. You could use like a Pro Gel, Wilton, whatever. Or alternatively, you can combine a number 8 white, number 7 green, number 4 dark green, and number 4 yellow to create a leaf green. All right, so that's what I've got here. Okay, now actually this week I'm filming a new video for applying to air drying clay, which is going to go through showing you how to actually create customized colors. And we'll be bringing out a new chart which is actually going to have all the different sort of colors, like the really dark purples and lavenders and dark red, and also actually I think there's 7 different greens, like a eucalyptus, like the Dusty Miller green, and also like a bright lime green, and then a moss green. So I'm going to actually be showing you how to mix all of those different colors. All right, so that's something I'm not sure of the launch of that, because it goes with a product as well, which I'll explain more about when I introduce you all to that. But anyway, but this is as I said, just using the size guide. All right, so I'm going to take these out of the little bag here. Look, just on my yellow, there we are, dropped in. All right, so here are our colors here. All right, so we've got so here I've got the colors. So this is using, of course, the Hardy pre-colored clays. All right, so we have a number 8 white, number 7 green, number 4 dark green, number 4 yellow. All right, and you're just going to combine these together. All right, and so what that's going to do is going to give me this sort of leaf green color. And this will be very comparable, like if you were to take like a Pro Gel or a Wilton paste color. But as I've explained many times before, the advantage of using the pre-colored Hardy clay is the color is going to be stable. It's not going to fade, whereas, you know, as a lot of you know who use food colors, like they will fade out. But this is going to give you a nice, like a leaf green color. All right, so it's going to give you this sort of bright green. Sorry, so those are your clays. And of course, if you're going to use sugar, just use the same amount. And obviously just color your sugar, because as I said, you can make the snowdrops obviously with the sugar as well. Now, a couple of things. So first of all, we have some new members. So welcome everybody, and welcome to obviously Flower Pro Members Club. And as I said, today is a live, so this is going to be just a session, really, just like almost the masterclass episodes, which are videos which are pre-recorded. All right, so I'm going to go through the items. Also just wanted to mention, great job everybody on your winter white spray. So a lot of you have obviously been posting as you've been finishing up in the last week or so your winter white spray. So beautiful job on those, everybody. So I hope everybody enjoyed working on those components. Remember, the anemone especially is a very versatile flower, because it comes in many different colors, and you could use that pretty much any time of the year. And the white anemone is really nice on a more contemporary style wedding cake, with if you're doing black and white colors, or more modern style cake. So a very useful flower to know how to make. This Thursday, the 28th, so this coming Thursday, we will be doing a live Q&A. So that will go live at 2 p.m. in the US Eastern Standard Time, or 7 p.m. in the UK. It's the same time as this live. And so I will be posting, after I finish this live, a photograph of Q&A session. And then, so if you'd like to post any questions, just post those in that thread. Okay, now please, I would request that when you post, if you could post obviously your name, but also more importantly where you're from, because sometimes when you're asking questions specifically about like a product, I can't find this product or whatever, and if you're in Australia or in the UK or the US, it helps me to understand where to advise you to get them from. But also sometimes it would be related to a product that you have available in some countries and not others, and I can suggest what you could use as an alternative. All right, so just make sure you just obviously just pop down where you're from, you know, country, or even town and country, city and country, because that helps again as well. All right, because you know, as the group grows, we obviously have a network and you can each help each other, because sometimes I would say to you, well, you know, Wendy, who's in Australia, do you have any suggestions where our member in New Zealand could get stamens or whatever? So you know, it's sort of things like that to help networking. So just post where you're from, as well as your name. All right, so that will be on Thursday. And on Thursday, I'm going to talk, because next week we're going to start on the Asian themed project. That's actually going to go, will be 8 weeks on that. And so I'm going to explain about the Asian themed projects and the project we're going to be working on. I'm going to talk more about that on Thursday. Okay? Now, so I'm working with the Hardy clay. So this is the obviously air drying clay. Katie Sue sells this. We do have this in the US. It's also available on, you know, Amazon do carry this. But as I said, you know, Katie Sue, if you're in the UK or Europe, Katie Sue will be quicker, and also in the US as well, because usually if you're ordering from some of those online stores, it would often come directly from Japan. So you'll have to wait for shipping from Japan. But anyway, so this is the Hardy Soft, which is the one I prefer. Those of you that have just, you know, new to Flower Pro, if you haven't checked out, there are several obviously episodes. Actually, when we started the club last April, some of the first episodes I did were on air drying clay. There's also like the daffodil, which is working with air drying clay, and some of the other projects as well. So if you haven't seen those, check those out, because that will sort of give you a little bit more of an insight into working with the product. Okay, now we're going to make the snowdrops. So these are our snowdrops here. All right. And so you can see here I have the snowdrops. And what I'm suggesting is, if you want to make a nice arrangement, this would look really beautiful in a little flower pot. These are air drying clay ones. But of course you could make more of these or less of them. So depending what type of container you're going to use. All right, but this works really well in a, you know, like different size containers. And we're going to talk a little bit about arranging them at the end. So I'm suggesting that as the number of components, but obviously you can do whatever you want to. And I'm in this live, I'm going to show you, like, you know, one obviously center, and then one flower, and then obviously the buds and the leaves, and then talk about all the coloring and finishing off. All right. Now for the center of the snowdrop, if your stamens are pale yellow, dust them, color them yellow using a little white and yellow acrylic paint, or obviously yellow acrylic paint, or you can use white acrylic paint and then obviously yellow gel color. And so these are called violet stamens. And they have longer, they've got these longer, like little, they're like a round stamen with a little point on them, okay? And so these are the stamens I'm going to use. But if you don't have these, just use any yellow stamens you have, all right? They don't necessarily, but this is the one I'm going to use. And these are actually called violet stamens. And in a few weeks' time, when we move into spring flowers, we will be using these for the little French violets and also Johnny Jump Ups or violas. All right, so these are actually made for using in violets, but they work really well. I use these in Bavaria and certainly other flowers. So it's definitely, as I said, something that's good to have a pack of. They come in a pale yellow. Now, some companies might have them in a darker yellow. The company we buy these from in Japan just have these pale yellow colored ones. So what you want to do is you want to just sort of brighten them up a little bit, just make them more of a lemon yellow color. And so what I've done there is, because I'm using air drying clay, I just took some white acrylic paint and I added a little tiny bit of yellow gel food color to it. Or you can, of course, you can buy yellow acrylic paint. If you have some, use just yellow acrylic paint. And if you're going to use this for making a lot of flowers, you can just take the whole bunch and just paint the ends with a paintbrush. But I've just actually just painted 9 stamens, all right? So I've got 9 stamens here. I'm going to make 5 centers, and then each of the centers takes 3 stamens, all right? So what you're going to do there is you'll take your stamens, and you're just going to cut your stamens in half. All right, so just going to cut your stamens in half here, like so. All right, so you've got your little stamens. All right, but they don't take many minutes to dry. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to take 3 stamens. All right, just going to tap them level. And in your wire, it says in your wire in your on your checklist, you're going to need 8 half-length 28 gauge green or white wires. So you want 8 of these. These are half-length, so remember these would be like half of the full-length wire. Can be green or white, okay, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the stamens, tape onto the end of a half-length 28 gauge white wire or green wire by wrapping quarter-width light green floral tape like a piece of string around 12 times to create a floral tape ovary, and continue to tape 3/4 of the way down the wire. So just to give you a little insight, this is what we're going to make, and it's coming in a little bit tighter with the camera here, all right? And so you see how you're going to have this little, like almost like a little ovary there, and at the top of it you're going to have these 3 little stamens like this. That's perfect, thank you. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to need some quarter-width floral tape. Okay, so we're going to take some quarter-width floral tape here, and take your stamens, just tap them level. All right, and I'm going to place the stamens up against the base of the wire, up against the base of the stamen, so they're right there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hold that end of the floral tape with my thumb and first finger, so the wire goes right the way to the top here. All right, remember it doesn't matter if it's green or white. I'm using white, but in your list it says green or white. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go around 12 times around around the base of the stamens. All right, so you're just going to go around once first to get started, then go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so you want to use that like a piece of string, okay? Now, of course, when you use this, then you're going to just flatten out the floral tape like this, and you're just going to just tape down, and you just remember, keep a little bit of tension on your tape, all right? And you want to come down about 3/4 of the way down. All right, so you're just going to, so obviously you can do this while you're watching TV. All right, so you can sit there and make your centers. All right, so you need to make obviously your centers there. So you'd make 5 of those. And because we're doing 5 flowers, it's better to do this like a production line. All right, and you can just lay those to one side. So that's going to be your centers, all right, and so it's pretty straightforward. Just remember, make sure you do get your tape nice and tight though, because you want it to sort of make sure you hold on and come down about 3/4 of the way down. Now then we're going to brush or rub a little vegetable fat or shortening into the small lily of the valley cavity. So we're going to use the lily of the valley cavity. So we're going to take just a little bit, and remember when you're doing this, it's often better with a brush, and we've talked about this before. This is just a stencil brush, so it's got quite sort of firm bristles, but like almost like a toothbrush or a nail brush. But what you want to do is keep a brush specifically for the vegetable fat or shortening. So I'm just going to just take a little tiny bit, you don't need much, just on the back of my hand here, and I'm just going to go into the cavity, just a little tiny bit of that into the cavity there, like so. So then we're going to take, this is a number 12 white air drying clay. Remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I found these mylar bags, which you can buy on Amazon, work really, really well because the paste doesn't dry out in them. So I really like these. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure a number 6 small. All right, so you want a number 6 that goes through your hole. All right, so there's going to be a number 6 that just goes through the hole. It's a little bit small, there we go. So number 6. There we go. So number 6 that just goes through the hole. And of course, then what you would do is you'd make another 5 of these that's about the same size. All right. So you just make, so you're going to make 5 total of those. I'm just going to pop that in back in my bag. But I say just get these on Amazon. These are like a 3x5, but they have a really good seal on them. And I found the paste stays, the air drying clay stays really, really nice, especially if you're doing custom colors and things like that. Works really, really well in there to keep it in good condition. Now, so what we're going to do here, so you take your little, obviously keep your other little balls underneath your little pot there. And so then we're going to measure a number 6 small of air drying clay, roll into a sausage and press in the flower cavity, press in the paste with a cosmetic sponge, then skim off excess paste from the center to the outside 3 times using the Flower Pro Flexi Scraper. And then each time you press back with the thin part of the cosmetic sponge wedge or a cosmetic sponge. Now, in an upcoming couple of episodes, I will be using, this is a cosmetic wedge. So because when you're sometimes working with sort of fairly shallow things, this thin part of your wedge works really well. If you don't have one, just a regular cosmetic sponge will work fine. But this I found works really well with some of the relates to some of the new products coming out in coming weeks, okay? So then we're going to roll that into a little ball and just going to make it into a slight sausage like that. Okay, and you're going to take your little sausage and you stick your sausage down in the center of the mold there like so, and then you can just use your regular cosmetic sponge there. Just going to press that in. And then we're going to take your flexi scraper. Now, when we're using the flexi scraper, we're going to hold it very flat, and what we're going to do here is we're going to use a sawing action. I'm just going to use a sawing action like this, and then as you do sort of each pair, you're going to then press it back in with your wedge. All right, so this is a little bit like when we do the Lily of the Valley. So you're just going to use a sawing action, and you see how then what you do is you take your wedge here, okay, and then with your wedge you're just going to press that back in, because what that does, it helps to make sure it stays into place. Okay, so but you hold this quite flat. Okay, just going to press that in like so. All right, so you're going to have a little bit of paste left over from each time. Okay, and so here you've now filled your cavity up level. All right, so we're going to then skim off the paste, and then I said press each time into the thin part of the cosmetic sponge with as you go, then hollow the center with the ball tool end of the companion tool. So then what we're going to do is in that middle part, I'm going to take my little ball tool and I'm just going to hollow the inside of that with my little ball tool there. All right, then you're going to remove, which a lot of times it will just pop out very easily because we have, so basically we have here your Lily of the Valley. Okay, now because the Snowdrop has got these inside petals, I found this works. So what we're actually going to do is, you see, we're going to make this center part where we're going to take 2 petals, 2 petals, and 2 petals of the Lily of the Valley. And this makes this great center part. All right, so what we're now going to do is we're going to then roll each pair of petals on the inside of the flower on the green side of the pad using the shaft of the companion tool to create 3 heart-shaped petals. All right, now it says here for sugar you can use your Dresden tool. So when you're doing this in sugar, you would use your Dresden tool. All right, so what I do here is I'm going to put this onto the pad. All right, and I'm going to use my little, here you see how I'm using my shaft of my companion tool. And you see how I'm just going to roll those to make this heart-shaped petal. Okay, and then you're just going to rotate this around. So you're just going to do this on each of, so you're just going to roll this. Just try and keep that level. So you see how you're going to get these little heart-shaped petals, all right? And then you're going to take the third one. Now, if you have, like, you need something to hold on to, just almost like just work the paste down a little bit. So see how you're just going to roll those. So this is going to give you your 3. So you see how you have almost a bit like a sort of a shamrock shape, all right? Now, so as I said, when you're using, if you're doing this in sugar with your Dresden tool, you just would stretch them with your Dresden tool like that. But remember, you know, when you're using air drying clay, you can't do that because what will happen is it sometimes will tear it, all right? So that's why it's better to use the rolling technique, all right? Now, once we've done that, so then we're going to, the petals will be approximately about 7 millimeters, about 1/4 of an inch long. So then using your size guide there. So as I said, they're going to be lengthwise, they will be about 1/4 of an inch, about 7 millimeters long, all right? So they're just going to be obviously just rolls, so they have this nice shape to them, okay? And then once we've done that, you're going to, on cosmetic sponge, you're going to cup each end with a ball tool on the companion tool on the inside. So now taking your cosmetic sponge, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hold on to this, and with my, could we come in a little tiny bit, Scott? Thank you. All right, so you see how you're going to cup the petal. Unfortunately, it's white on white, so it's a little bit like glary on the, but you're just going to cup and cup. So you see how you, just come away there. So you see how you're going to get this sort of cup on the end here. And then you're just going to cup and cup on the end. All right. So you have this little cup on your end of your petals. There you can see that. All right. And then once we've done that, we're going to then cup each petal with on the inside, and hollow the center, and then make a hole through the center with the needle tool end of the companion tool. So now I'm going to take the companion tool, and I'm going to hollow the center. So you see how you're just going to make like a little hollow in the middle here. And then with your needle tool end of your companion tool, you make a hole through the center like that, okay? So then we're going to take your glue. So I'm using, obviously here, you can come out a little bit now with the camera. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of glue. So it's going to put just a little bit of glue with my needle tip applicator just around the bottom of your ovary. Okay, and then you're going to just take your wire here now. You're going to thread this up. You're going to pull this through, and you're going to pull it so the little green part will just disappear into your little cup there, like so. All right. You can pinch that a little bit. If you've made it a little bit long on the back, you can just pinch that off a little bit, but just mold this around. Not dissimilar really to how we did when we did the daffodil, how we made the trumpet of the daffodil. All right, so you see how you're going to make your flower back. So you brush a little glue, or obviously egg white for sugar, at the base of the ovary, insert into the center, pull so the ovary disappears into the center, mold at the base, and then let to dry. All right, and so that's the first stage there. Now obviously with air drying clay and with sugar, they shouldn't move, but you're just going to make sure that looks fairly symmetrical, and that will give you the shape of your middle. So you just would whip up, you know, like 5 of those. All right, so you just would do those first. And I've got a suggested work order on your list here. So this is, you know, what I would suggest production list wise. We've done our 5 stamen centers. So now we're going to do the 5 flower inside petals. All right. So we've got the stamens, we've done the 5 flower inside petals, so you just will continue with the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. So now what we're going to do is going to make the 3 centers and make the bud cone. So we're going to make now, so they just need to dry for a few minutes. And of course with air drying clay, when I made the sample, I did these all from start to finish. So it took me less than an hour to do this whole project, all right? Might take you an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, but as I said, it's pretty quick to do. So with the buds, we're going to make floral tape buds by wrapping a 1/4 width light green floral tape around the end of a 28 gauge wire, and then you're going to bend in half, and then you're going to wrap around there. Make floral tape bud by wrapping 1/4 width floral 5 times, then around the end of the wire, and then you're going to bend at the end of the wire, wrap another 5 times. So 5 times hook times 5. All right, and then these will be the other 3 wires that we haven't used. So we're going to do 5 times hook times 5. All right, so we're just going to make your floral tape bud here. So we're just going to, again, just hold your tape, just stretch it a little bit. It's going to go around once, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, hook, remember you can just use your fingers here, make a little hook on the end. All right, then 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, you're going to come about 3/4 of the way down the wire like this. All right. Okay. But as I said, if you're just relaxing tonight watching TV, you know, you could sit there and make your stamen centers and your buds, and then you'll have them ready for tomorrow to make the next part. Now, of course, if you're doing sugar, if you're doing these in sugar, you just would let this, they would need to sort of dry for about an hour or so, or just pop them, hang them in your food dehydrator. But as I said, you can, or you could do the centers and the center of the flowers tonight, and then you can do the rest tomorrow. Anyway, so then what we're going to do is going to move on to the next step. So we're going to take number 6 small ball of clay. So it's a bit noisy. This sounds like eating a bag of potato chips, crisps in the movie theater. So we're going to take, as I said, going to take a number 6 small. So same size, all right? So this is going to be number 6 small. So it wants to just go through the hole. And so going to take your number 6 small. All right, so that's good. So it just went through. Close up your bag. Okay, and then all we're going to do, so of course you can measure off your 3 of these. Then we're going to apply a little glue to the floral tape bud, insert into the clay. So we're going to take your little needle tip applicator. Now if you don't have a needle tip applicator, just use a little paintbrush, but I find this very, very convenient for doing small things and putting my wires and things like that when we do the leaves later. So then we're going to take the floral tape bud, we're going to insert that into the end there, just mold that around. Remember, if you use a little bit too much glue, just use a little corn flour on your fingers there. All right, and then we're going to then hold your thumb and finger like almost like a witch's hat shape. All right, and then we're going to make this, so this is going to be made 15 millimeters long or 5/8 of an inch length. All right, so you see how this fits within the 15 millimeters. All right, so you see where the end of the cone is to where the wire starts is 15 millimeters, okay? And then once we've done that, we're going to then using the needle end of the needle of the companion tool, mark into 3 at the wire end, and then score from the wire to the point, and then leave to dry. So what we're now going to do is going to take your companion tool. All right, now with my companion tool, I'm going to divide this into 3. So just going to do 1, 2, 3. So you divide this into thirds. All right. Now, when you're using air drying clay, little tip which I've shared several times, if you put just like a little tiny bit of vegetable, just like dip it into some vegetable fat shortening, what that's going to do is going to stop it dragging. Okay. And you can do this on your cosmetic sponge. You can do this on your finger. But what we're going to do here is just going to just drag from here to the end of the cone. All right, to make the 3. I usually do this on a cosmetic sponge. It's just that it's white, obviously on almost a white color. 1, 2, 3. All right, so you see how you divide this into 3 little sections there, like so. But because the air drying clay stays soft, but the surface dries very quickly, putting a little bit of the vegetable fat on here helps when you're doing buds like gardenias. When you twist them, you're not going to get that sort of stress where the paste starts to almost like, you get like stretch marks on it. All right, so there's going to be your little centers. So of course you'd make 3 of those. All right, so once we've done that, so now we've done our 3 flower centers marking, and then we're going to mark on the heart-shaped petals. Now when we do this, so we're going to do the markings on the heart-shaped petals. So here, this is going to be the top of the first piece. So it says using a green pen or green acrylic paint or gel powder color and vodka for sugar, paint markings on each of the heart-shaped petals. Now I'm using here just a green marker pen, all right, and even if you're doing sugar ones, in the UK, for example, here we have the rainbow dust pens which we've used in some projects, but we only have one green which is too dark. So this is just like a marker pen, like a Sharpie type of marker pen. All right, so you just want something that's sort of a limey green color. Alternatively, you could use some acrylic paint, so you just want something that's sort of fairly bright, like a Nicholas Lodge green color, and you can just use a fine paintbrush. Now, this is actually the one I've just done, all right, so this will be fine, and of course, by the time you've done the 5 of these, so you're just going to make some little marks here, just going to make some little marks like this on the petals here. So you're just going to do just a series of little lines like this, following the shape of the, so you're just really just going to do these little lines like this. But most of these type of markers are non-toxic. So the thing is even if somebody was to eat the flower, it's not going to harm them. And at the end of the day, this is a wild flower, so I don't usually encourage people to eat these. But you're just going to make the little markings. Now, the reason we do that now is that if you do this afterwards, you can see here, this is like the flower ready for its little calyx and coloring. It would be difficult to get in there without getting your green on although the air drying clay is still flexible. This one was made 2 weeks ago, but it's easier to do this before you put the outside petals on, all right? So that's where I would recommend you do those. But as I said, if you don't have a marker pen, you can use a paintbrush with some acrylic paint and just paint the little lines onto there. All right, so you would do those on the, so you'll have this will be the sort of the look we have. So you have this on the little petals there, like that. All right, so you're going to get these little lines. This is sort of an appley, limey green color. So we've done that. So now we're going to move on to our production list. So now we're going to do the 5 flower outside petals. All right, now if you were doing sugar, you would need to, of course, let your inside petals dry, do your buds, but then let everything dry before you put these on, because if not, the whole thing could come off the wire. In the air drying clay, this is fine, and I'm doing this in actual time, just showing you one. So when we do the outside petals, all right, now here, there are several of this technique shown in this particular project. And that is that we're going to be, when we do the outer petals, and the outer petals are the buds and the leaves, rather than just telling you to measure off number 6 smalls, like 5 number 6 smalls, because we need we need 15 of these, all right? So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you a quick method I use. And I've used this in some projects, like on my, for example, when I did my wedding foliage video on making the boxwood, the English boxwood. And when we did also, remember, in the winter, in the Christmas spray, in the Home for the Holidays spray, Home for Christmas spray, we use this technique for the juniper and newberries. So this is something like if you are doing a project, not related necessarily to Flower Pro, but you're just making something, let's say, where you need, like, let's say, 36 number 5 size balls of paste. what you can do there is you can take, for example, you could make, like, say 12, all right? So you just make 12 number 5 balls of paste in a regular way. Then you push them back together again, and you measure on the size guide. So let's say that measured number 10 small. Then you would then take 3 number 10 smalls, roll it into a long sausage, and then you cut it into each of them into 3, and then into quarters, and then in each one into 3 again. So that would give you 36 pieces of paste, all right? So it's techniques like that I use when I'm doing production. So in some of my classes, and this is a good example on this download, this is the technique we're using where we're going to be working with some paste. So you're going to take a number 8 ball of white paste and roll into a sausage, cut into quarters, then each quarter into 4, which will give us 16 number 5 balls of paste, all right? So, you know, if you ever need a lot of number 5 balls of paste, just use that formula. All right, so we're going to take a, as I said, number 8 size ball of paste. So we're going to take a number 8 size, just regular size. All right, so regular size, so 1/3 below, 2/3 above. A tiny bit more. There we go. There we go. All right, so 1/3 below, 2/3 above. Here, there we go. Going to pop your excess paste back into your bag. Okay, and then what we're going to do here, going to roll this into a sausage. Now, it doesn't matter how long your sausage is, but it wants to be fairly consistent thickness along. Remember, you can also, another way you can do that, which is like when we did the basket, you can actually use your little scraper. You see, this is going to give you a consistent thickness. Just make sure that the ends of those are like that. And then you can use, I'm using here just like the little mini knife. You can also use your flexi scraper as well. But so what we're going to do here is we're going to cut each of these into quarters. All right, and then I'm going to cut each of the quarters into 4 again. All right, so you just will continue that. So what that's going to do, that's going to give you, that will give you 16 number 5 balls of paste. All right, so it's just a quick way to, when you're making multiples of flowers, it's just a quick way to do that. Of course, you'd pop these underneath your little pot like this. All right, I'm going to need 3 of these at a time, but you just would cut those all, have those ready to go. Okay, now we're going to just drop one. There we go. You only need 15, so if you drop one, it'll be okay. All right, so anyway, so we got 3. Now we're going to use our wedding foliage mold. All right, so with our wedding foliage mold here. So we're going to then take 3 pieces at a time, roll into a carrot, push into the small Italian ruscus leaf mold. So we're going to use the small Italian ruscus leaf mold. Again, you can just put a little tiny bit of shortening onto there. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to be using it like this way around here. So just going to make it into a little carrot, all right? And you place this carrot into the mold, all right? So it says here you're going to mold into a carrot shape. So the fat end of the carrot is the base of the leaf. So you're going to put the fat end of the carrot is where the sort of base of the leaf is, which would be here. And then you're just going to press this in with your, now we're not going to use the whole of this, all right? We're just going to press this in with your cosmetic sponge. So it will come down to the bottom there. All right, but it won't completely fill the mold, right? Because we're actually going to be cutting this down a little bit. I'm just going to just take that out of the mold. All right, and you're going to do your next one. Just going to make it into a little carrot shape. I'm just going to press that into the mold here. As I said, because this is a shallow mold, and this is also where you can use your cosmetic wedge as well, because that's actually quite good to get into those little end pieces there. All right, just going to just take this out. And with your air drying clay, you know, these will be fine for a couple of minutes, so just do 3 of these at a time. But just going to push this into but the little bit of shortening will help to stick that into the mold. Just going to bring that down with your finger because you want to get the point on there, like so. All right, so you're going to take your 3rd one out, okay? Now once we get the 3rd of them out, then you're going to, so we're going to press with cosmetic sponge about 3/4 of the way up the leaf, remove, and on the unveined side, work from the tip down using the needle tool end of the companion tool on a cosmetic sponge. So then what you're going to do, so this is the unveined side, this is the veined side, which will be on the outside. This is the unveined side. And so then with your needle tool, all right, you're going to just sort of work with the needle tool from the outside to the point. So it's going to just gently go down. Remember, do this on your cosmetic sponge, like that, okay? And then once we've done that, then you're going to then repeat on all three, then cut down to 20 millimeters or 3/4 of an inch long, okay? So what I would normally suggest you do here is just going to take, so you're just going to cut these to about 20 millimeters. So they could be a little bit curved, all right? So what I do is just place that so the tip is right at the 20 millimeters. I'm just going to cut that off there, like so, okay? And then you're just going to use that as your gauge. I'm just going to cut that off. You can use your little knife or you can use scissors as well, whichever you prefer. All right, and again, you've got little scraps of paste here, so those will go back into your bag. So then once we've done that, we're going to add a little glue at the square end of each petal and attach the 3 petals in between each heart-shaped petal. And shape of the base using a little water on your fingers to smooth and pinch the petal tips. So what we're going to do now is just going to place these onto, I'm going to pop them just onto, I'll do it on here, it's a little bit easier to see. I'll actually just pop it onto the pad. It's just, unfortunately, when you have white on white, it's a bit like a photograph in a white cat in a snowstorm, okay? So you're going to take this, we're going to put just a little bit of glue, just a little tiny bit of glue on the square edge of the petals here. All right, and then you're going to just take your, so this is the one that I started off making, you know, so I can go straight onto this. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to position these petals. So this petal is going to go in between the heart-shaped petals. All right, so it's actually sitting right in between that heart-shaped petal there. Just going to mold that on. All right, then I'm going to take my next one. Just going to attach that. Just going to mold that on. Just going to attach that. So you see how that's going to give you your snowdrop. So this gives you a really fabulous looking flower. And then you're just going to mold this around. And with the air drying clay, I'm just going to take just then a little bit of water on my finger, and I'm just going to rub that where your petals, because what the water on your finger will actually help to blend that in. Now, of course, you can buy snowdrop cutters, but I actually think this looks much more realistic, and it has a really nice shape to it, and just a little bit more sort of, they don't all look so stamped out. And then you're going to just use your fingers there, just going to pinch that end. So you just almost just pinch the ends of the petals like so. And you see that's going to give you your classic snowdrop shape. All right, so it's going to give you the snowdrop shape. And you can just bend these over and just hang them. But usually the air drying clay, they will just stay there, right? But if you're doing sugar ones, just bend those over. Now, even with the sugar one, you can use a little bit of moisture on your finger as well. And if you are using sugar ones, if you are going to do this flower in sugar, because especially these little tiny leaves, which are optional, you don't have to put these on, all right? But the thing is, in air drying clay, you see they stay flexible. And so if you are going to do these in sugar, I would probably suggest use the sugar in paste. You know, this is the sugar in paste which we talked about, because it stays more flexible, all right? But also, if you are doing sugar ones, this is like an optional step, that little tiny calyx on there, because you know, if you're doing this for a client or a friend, they're not going to say, oh my goodness, you know, your snowdrops don't have that little calyx on the stem of them, so it will be totally fine. But obviously, this just really finishes them off nicely. Okay, so that will be your flowers. So you see, that's what they're gonna look like. And also, as you can see, they're going to, of course, they will shrink a little tiny bit as well. Remember, with the air drying clay, it will shrink a little bit, and so it will tighten up and obviously give you your flower shape. All right, so anyway, so that would be your next step. So we've now done, so of course you do that on the second, the third, the fourth. So we're now going to do the 5 flower outside petals. So now we're going to do the 3 bud outside petals. All right, so we're going to do the 3 bud outside petals. So these are going to be done pretty much in the same similar way. And what we're going to do there is you would take a large number 7, all right, so number 7 large. So what that means, it will be 1/4 below, 3/4 above, all right, so I'll just show you that, because we don't use this very often. And this will be for the, as I said, for the 3 buds. So you need a large number 7, just a little tiny bit more on that. So what that means is you have about 1/4 below and 3/4 above. Remember, we don't do this very often. But you see it's way, way smaller than an 8 small, you see? All right, so you see how it sort of it's sort of way, way more small. So it's just a large number 7. All right, so you've got about a quarter below and about 3/4 above. And then what you would then do is you would then, on that, you would then repeat as the outer petals of the flower, but cut into thirds, and each third into 3. All right, so what we're going to do here, so what I've done is I've calculated how, so this will actually make 9 number 5s, okay? So you're just going to roll this into a sausage. Remember, as I said, you can just use your little flexi scraper. All right, and then you can use your, here, you can use your little scraper here. And then what you do there is you're going to cut these into thirds, all right? So you'd have, and then you're going to do the same on the other one here like this. All right, so anyway, so you'll have, so that will give you 9 of those. Now again, we're going to use the same sort of concept. All right, so we're just going to make this into a little sausage shape there. Going to push this into the mold here. All right, and then you're going to take this out, and you're going to repeat this. Just going to press this into the mold there. Make sure you get right into the bottom there, because remember when we do, got a little stick in there. Remember, if your paste does get a little sticky, you can just use a little bit of, also leaving a little bit of cornstarch on there as well. All right. Now just remember also that when you're using, you know, when you're using fresh air drying clay, you know, sometimes you, I typically find it just naturally will start to dry as you start to work with it. But also remember, when we do the Italian ruscas for Italian ruscas leaf, normally what we would do is we'd actually would use this to do the veining on the back. We would use like the fan veiner, all right, which comes with the Gerber daisy and sunflower, or you can use the lily veiner, but we don't need to do that because it's going to be on the inside, all right? But remember, this plain side will be the inside. Now next week, this next Monday, all right, Shale Sosha, who is one of our obviously Flower Pro design team members, Shale is going to be actually doing a little class to show you how to make some little filler orchids using this mold, all right? So she's actually going to be showing you some almost like little fantasy like cymbidium type of orchids made with the wedding foliage mold. So next Monday you'll see other things to do with this as well. All right, so you've got your 3 little cavities. Then again, you're just going to just turn these over, pop these onto here. So remember, this is the unveined side there, and again, you can put a little bit of shortening onto there. I'm just going to just vein down the middle of this. 1, 2, 3, like this. And then we're going to cut this to, so these are going to be cut into, and then you're going to brush glue on the square end, so just the same way as we did down, but these are going to be more closed up. So then we're going to take your, again, you're just going to just take that, so just position that. So you see how I'm just going to cut that at the 20mm mark. Because just remember, sometimes some things are easier to do in you know, inches, like 1/2 inch or whatever, and other things are easier to do in millimeters. That's why you have both sizes on your chart there. So just going to cut that to create the, okay. Okie dokie. So then we're going to take your little pieces here. Again, you can just lift this up. So this is on the, so I said this is the side where we've got the line there, and then again you're just going to put just a little bit of glue. You know, don't use too much glue. Now remember, the air drying clay does stick to itself, but usually for things like this, I just want to make sure that it is going to stick. And if your air drying clay does start to dry a little bit, that's where you can, you know, this really ensures that. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to attach this So each of these petals will go basically over where the line is, all right? So they're just going to go over where the line is like that. So what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to position the line in the middle there. Just going to wrap this around. So, or you can just lift this up. All right, so it's going to just mold this around like this. So you see it's going to actually close over where the line is, just sort of so you know where it's positioned. It's going to go, and then the second one is going to go here. All right, so they're going to come up a little tiny bit. All right, you see how what this is going to do is going to give you this sort of like this nice bud. And then the third and final one is going to go over here. Like so. So remember, you want the veining on the outside, the veining from the, and you're almost just going to just again just mold this around. All right, and then you're going to close these up. So you're just going to just close these up, so they almost just like close up like this. All right, because they want to create the bud, so they want to just create the closed up bud like that. And then again, just with a little bit of moisture on your finger, you're just going to just rub the end of the leaf there, or the end of the petal there, just mold that around, so you see how you're going to get this nice shaped bud. All right, so this is going to form your bud, but you see how when you look inside this, you're going to get the effect of the bud opening. Okay, so that's sort of how you would do the how we would do the little outside petals on the bud. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to move on to the calyx. All right, now remember with sugar you need to allow things to dry, but the nice thing about the air drying clay can just go straight on. So for the calyx, all right, we're going to move on to the calyx of the flower here. And so for the calyx we need 8 of those, so we're going to measure a number 6 ball of paste, and then we're going to roll into a sausage and cut into 8. All right, and this will give you 8 number 3 small balls of paste. So we're going to take our green, so this is the green I used, which I said is the leaf green color here. So for the calyx, so we're going to need a number 6 size ball of paste. Remember, whenever you need in those sort of smaller sizes, that's the way that I would suggest you do it, because it's much quicker for production work. All right, so you see how you're going to make, so this is a number 6. Because you can imagine if you're measuring off 6 number 3 small, 8 number 3 smalls. So this again relates to, of course, the making the 5 flowers and then the 3 buds. So again, you see how you can just roll this with your little scraper. And I'm just going to cut these into quarters, and then each quarter into half again. So this will give me, this will continue doing that. Of course, this will give you your 8 number 3 small balls of paste. All right, so just a quick way to do things there. I'm just going to show you 2 of these. So you can put some of these under your little pot. All right, so then what we're going to do is going to roll into a ball and make the hole through the center using the needle tool end of your companion tool. So again, with air drying clay, just going to put a little bit of the vegetable shortening onto there, and I'm just going to make a hole through the middle here. Now I found this works better because the air drying clay sort of drags a little bit, so if you make a little hole, think of it like a little tiny bead. All right, and then what you would then do is you take your I'm just going to take this here, and then you're just going to just slide this up. So you just slide that up with here like so. You're going to put a little tiny bit of glue around the bottom here. So just a little tiny bit of glue around the bottom. This one I had is dried a little bit, because remember when you're making 5 flowers, by the time you get the 5 flowers done, you know, they'll start to dry. They don't take long to do that. Okay. And as I explained, when I did this for the class, for this video, I did all of these just straight the way through without sort of really stopping. So the calyx, so you slide up the wire or on the bud, apply a little glue at the base of the flower or the bud where the petals and shape into an oval shape. All right, so you're just going to just mold that, and what you're actually going to do here is you're just going to mold this around. So use a little bit of cornstarch. So you're just going to just mold this around. So you see how it will be, it will almost be like a little cup. All right, so you see how you're going to get this sort of like little oval shape like that. Okay, and then with your, so then you're going to, then it says bend the wires over a stick, paintbrush handle, or dowel. All right, so what you would then do is you would take a stick, you'd use like a sort of a paintbrush handle, you would use a dowel, you know, something like that. So about pencil size. All right, and then what I do there is I'm just going to hold it, and I'm just going to fold this over the top. Now what this is going to do is going to give you that nice shape, because just to show you, if you take tweezers, all right, and you do that, what will happen is you're going to get like a very much a sort of an angle there. So you want this nice soft shape. All right, so you're just going to literally just place that over the top, and it's going to just come over the top there of your, you see how that's going to give you your snowdrop flower shape. All right, so that's sort of how you would do and then on the, show you this on the bud. So again, remember, just going to make a little tiny hole in the middle here. Just going to slide this up the wire there. Little tiny bit of glue at the bottom here. So a little tiny bit of glue. Now snowdrops, you know, were always one of my favorites as a child. My grandmother had a lot of snowdrops, and obviously growing up in England, in Essex, you know, we had a lot of woods that had wild snowdrops and things, and of course people's gardens. It's always something I sort of associate with springtime. And, you know, they grow very well in Canada, in the northern part of the United States, obviously in Europe. And I have tried like 3 different times. I've actually brought snowdrops bulbs back from the UK, but I couldn't get them to do anything. But Mary Virginia, who's actually one of our Flower Pro members who assists me in a lot of my classes, who lives in Macon, Georgia, she's actually got some growing in her garden. So she's actually going to give me some bulbs when they finish flowering from her garden. And, you know, I'm going to try, maybe because they've been grown in Georgia, they will be okay. But it's like certain flowers we can't grow here. Like I've tried 4 different lilac trees. I love lilac, and a lot of those English, lily of the valley, and a lot of those English sort of flowers that I very much remember as a child. You know, we just can't get them to grow so much in our zone where we live, because it gets a little bit warm quickly. So that will give you a little, as I said, oval on your bud as well. All right, so that's going to be, so those will be your, and then again, this is just going to be bent over. So you're just going to see how you take that. All right, but as I said, just something about pencil size. I mean, you could use a pencil or a pen, but a wooden stick, you know, wooden dowel will also work fine as well. You see, that's going to give you the right sort of size. You're going to get this nice crook in the neck of it. Okay, so there will be your, so those are your little, as I said, your flowers. And of course, like as you finish up with the paste, so you can just pop this back into your bag there. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be the leaves of the leaves of the snowdrop. So now we're going to make 12 leaves. All right. Now the leaves are these long, skinny leaves. All right. You can see these on the finished snowdrop. All right, so you see how they have these long leaves, and this is a really useful technique to see, because sometimes when you're making certain things, you might need just these long, skinny leaves. All right, so we use these on little, you know, mini daffodils. So the little video that I did last year, the mini daffodil made in the Flower Pro filler flower mold. So there's a video in the Flower Pro members group way back. I showed how to make this on the Facebook group, little tiny daffodils using the Lily of the Valley one and then the Bluebell one. And in that video, I showed using floral tape for the leaves, but this would be how you would do it in air drying clay or in sugar. Okay, so what we're going to do for the leaves, we're going to take the leftover green clay, and that should be approximately about a number 8 size, or a little bit more than you need. But anyway, so again, you're going to take this same technique. So we're going to use a number 8 size piece of paste. All right, so just remember, I'm always usually a little generous in the paste you need, just so you've got enough if you wanted to make some more. But once you start making it, they're really fun, and especially in air drying clay, it's a lovely gift to give somebody. And so again, you'd use a third below. All right, and then here, what we're going to do is going to then again roll this into a sausage. So we're going to take our last, here we're going to take our paste. We're going to roll this into a sausage here, like so. Okay, remember, just even this up with your, there we go. All right, and again, you're just going to cut this into 12. So cut it into quarters, and then each quarter will be cut into, obviously, 4 here. Now remember, if you're using something like an X-Acto knife, a scalpel type of knife, you just need to make sure, you know, like it's obviously, I don't generally use these type of knives in my classroom because they will destroy a plastic board. But, you know, if you're working on like a self-healing board or a little chopping board or whatever, you can, of course, use a scalpel knife like that. So anyway, so you'd put your 12 little balls of paste under there, and you can take one out at a time. All right, so then we have in your, you've used all of your longer wires. So now what we do wire-wise, we need 12 1/3 length 28 gauge green or white wires. All right, so there you just would take basically 4 wires and just cut them into 3, okay? And that's going to give you 12 1/3 length wires. I'm going to show you this twice, all right, just so you can sort of grasp the technique. So what we're going to do now is going to take the, now if your paste, this paste is nice and fresh, but like if your paste feels a little bit tight, all right, once you've measured your number 8 size ball of paste, what I would suggest you do is take the leftover, so then you're going to add water to soften a little if you do find it feels a bit dry, all right? And so what you do is you just dip your paste into water, and you just would work some water through your paste, because you do need to have this nice and soft, all right? So you see how that's going to sort of soften the paste down, because remember, this is air drying clay, so the air dries it, and so then if it starts to get a little bit firm, just dip it into water, okay? But as I said, so if your paste feels a bit dry, this is fresh clay, so I just opened the pack this morning when I prepped for the live. So then what we're going to do here is we're going to dip, and then you're going to dip or brush glue halfway down the 1/3 wire. So I'm going to take my wires here, and this is where I take my here, going to take my glue, and I'm just going to push that into there. I'm just going to just gently put a little bit of pressure. So I've just put some glue on about half the wire. You're going to slide this onto the here like so. All right, and then we're going to use your finger just to work the paste to the end here. Now you're sort of like twiddling the paste so it comes up to the top here until it just disappears past the end. I'm just going to start to work this down. Now you can also do that, you can roll this, this will like even it up and will help you establish a shape. But the thing here is you're putting quite a firm pressure on, and I'm doing this technique here like this, all right? And you want to just work that down. And so this wants to be about 60 millimeters in length, all right? So it wants to be about 60 millimeters approximately in length. Just a little bit pointed, but just want to have a little bit of a pointed top there, like so, all right? So it's about 60 millimeters. And so not dissimilar to the way we'd make like pine needles or, you know, other types of things as well. Then we're going to roll to make a tube shape, and then gently press the flexi scraper on top to flatten. So with your flexi scraper, I'm just going to just gently press that on the top. So what I've done is I've just flattened it. Now don't worry if it's not exactly perfect, all right, because when we pinch it like a taco shape, it will be fine. And then we're going to, using your fingers, press one side onto the large Italian Ruscus mold, and then turn over to the vein side, curve, and then pinch like a taco. So now what we're actually going to do here is we're going to take the large Italian Ruscus mold, which is going to be this one here, remember, with the straight, this is the one with the straight lines onto it. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to just place this in, and I'm just going to use my finger just to gently press down, and then you just move this up, and you're just going to press that down like that. So what you're doing is you're veining all the way down here like so. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to now pinch this. So you're going to curve the wire, all right? So you're just going to just curve the wire with your finger. So you see how that's going to give you the nice shape. And then you're going to then pinch this like a taco shape. So what you do here, you see how I'm just pinching this with my thumb and finger here. So you create this nice, you can just gently stroke that. So this is like when we do, as I said, like the white ginger has a very fine petals like this. This is the technique you use for like spider mums and certain other flowers to give you that sort of channeled shape, all right? But it's a way of making really, really skinny petals and things. All right, I'm just going to show you that one more time just so you can sort of see the technique. And but as I said, your paste needs to be soft, all right? Because if it's not soft, it's difficult to stretch this down. So again, remember, just going to take a a little bit of glue, so just pop your wire, a bit like threading a needle, there we go. There we go. So just thread that in, just pull that out. Just remember, keep this top on there, because the thing is the glue will dry quickly. Just going to thread that onto the wire here. All right, use a little bit of cornstarch there. But you see how I'm just working this down. So this is like when we do the stamens, you know, for the lily and things like this. So we use this technique on quite a few Flower Pro projects. Just make sure, as I said, it wants to be fairly even. Just where the end of the wire is, a little bit tapered. Just gonna make that 60 millimeters long, approximately. Now, if you know, those of you that especially are fairly new to flower making, if you're having drama, all right, you know, it's quite normal. Like every class I teach, hands-on classes, normally some drama from, you know, floral tape challenge, you know, sometimes, you know, this twiddling technique takes a little bit of practice, all right? But so if you want to make this a little bit bigger, so you could start off with, like, for example, like a number 9 size or a regular number 8, you know, so you can go up a little tiny bit bigger and still cut it into 12. It just makes them a little bit bigger, which they'll be fine. So then remember, you're going to take your little flexi scraper, just going to just gently press that on the top. So it's just going to flatten it very, very slightly, okay? And I just found this is better to do because air drying clay is very soft. So when you start pressing a cosmetic sponge, it's going to sort of stretch it a little bit, make it a little bit wide. So this is where I found just my finger worked well. So you see what I do is I put this at the tip and I just work down with my finger like this. Then you're just going to just put the wire in the actual, and then just finish that off with your, so remember that's on one side. All right, so you're going to get these little lines. So then you're going to then just bend that. So you're just going to encourage it to bend over the curve of your finger, like this, okay? So it's going to give you the shape. And then you're going to just pinch this like a little taco. So you're going to get that little tiny hollowed shape on your leaf like so. All right? So just going to pinch that. So it's going to give you the shape on your leaves. That will be your little leaves. All right, so you just whip up 12 of those. So you see how you just would make the leaves. And pretty easy to do. I mean, again, you could even do that watching TV, all right? You can just sort of sit there with a tray on your lap and make your little leaves. Now, once we've got your leaves completed, I'm going to now work on the last little part, which will be the finishing up. So we're going to then dust the flowers, all right? So we're going to dust the flowers. So when we finish off the coloring on the flowers, so we're going to take your, on your coloring here, so on the flowers, so where is the coloring on the, here, and then, and then also, sorry, I also forgot to show you the little, the leaf on the flowers and buds as well. So that's going to be in number 5 small, roll into a carrot shape and press in the small Italian ruscus, and use for the outer petals with a cosmetic sponge. So sorry, I meant to just show you that, then I'll show you the coloring. So here you're going to use a number 5 small. So you can just repeat the process for the, you know, just making some of those. So you just would make your, here, so you're going to take your paste, so you just need 5 smalls. All right, now this will yield two calyxes, all right? So you just need to make 4 of those because that will give you the 8. We've got 5 flowers and the buds, all right? So this is a number 5 small here. And so then what we're going to do is going to take a number 5 small and then you're going to roll into a carrot, press into the small Italian ruscus. So we're just going to use that in the same mold we use for the Italian ruscus. I'm going to use that will actually fill this. I'm just going to press this in so that will actually sort of press that all the way along to press that level. All right, so that will just fill the mold up basically level here. All right, now you're going to take this out of the mold. All right, you're going to turn this over, okay, like so, and then remove and going to cut a curved shape each side using the shape of the leaf using a flexi scraper or cutting wheel. All right, and then you will then, obviously you're going to cut, so you can cut these out. So this will actually give you two for the side there. And so you can use your flexi scraper or you can use a cutting wheel. All right, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my flexi scraper and you're just going to cut this really, really fine leaf. So you see how with the flexi scraper there, so when you cut through, you see how you're going to get this little tiny leaf here. So you'll have some paste left from the, and it's usually easier to do this towards you, all right? And you can also use a cutting wheel for this as well. So what you're doing there is you're just following the shape of your, all right? So then you would put, you know, one of these would go into your little flap, into your plastic flap. Put one of those here. All right, and then so you see how what you're doing is you're getting the really, really fine, skinny leaf, all right? And so then we're going to then pinch the top, turn over to plain side, and work from the tip to the base using the needle tool. So here, this is the side with the veining from the tool there. So it's like a mini, so you turn this over, just pinch your top, okay? And then you're gonna lay this down, and then with your companion tool, getting just a little bit of shortening. But remember, on sugar, this is an optional thing to do, all right? And then you're gonna just work from the tip, coming down like this. All right, so this curves. All right, so this is the side. So the outside is gonna have the thing on there. And then you're going to then apply glue halfway up the leaf and attach the floral bud by pressing around the wire and then shape to the base, all right? So what we do then is going to take just a little bit of glue, going to put just a little tiny bit of glue just down half of the length of that. And then what I actually do here is you take your flower, you see, and I'm just going to literally just take the flower. You can see I'm about like in this part here. So I'm just going to press the wire onto the top like so. All right, like this, and then you're going to mold that around. So what you're doing is you're actually molding that around, so you're making like a little tube shape. So just going to just mold this around like a little tube shape. So where this leaf part, where the glue is going to be molded around there like so. And this is going to come up, so this actually sort of sits up. You just slide this up and it will fit over the top of there like that. But you actually want to just mold the first half of the leaf, wants to be molded around the wire like a little tube, you see? And you see how that will come, that's going to give you this little tiny, which is actually like really a calyx, all right? So you're going to have this little tiny bit there like so. I'll just show you that on the bud, and then you can, so again, just going to pinch that. I'm going to turn this over to the plain side. You're going to come down here with your tool there. I'm going to put a little bit of glue onto this. So just a little tiny bit of glue. You can brush that on as well, and then on your bud. But again, you can see how you take this. You're going to just sort of put this on. You're going to press this on with the wire. You see, so it sits on there. And you're going to just pinch the paste around. So you almost just squash the paste around there like so. Just remember, if you've got a little bit too, try not to use too much glue, but you're just going to use your glue, your finger here, and you're going to mold that around. All right, so you're just going to mold this around, and then just going to just slide that up. All right, so just going to just slide this up here like so. So you'll have this little curled part there around. All right, and if you need to put a little tiny bit more glue on, you can do. And just remember, as I said, but that's just going to sort of sit around there. So you're going to get this little tiny leaf there that fits around there. All right, but if you need a little tiny bit more glue, you can do. But it's better to use sort of not too much glue. All right, but just going to, of course, you can also add a little that with a little bit of paint with a paintbrush as well. All right, so that's going to give you a little, like little tiny leaf there. Those are a little fiddly, but as I said, I found that worked really well using this technique for making that. So now we're going to move on to the color. All right. So so when we do the calyx, all right, and then we've got the little leaves on the flower there, and then we're going to on the leaves here. So let's just find where we've got the coloring on here. I know it was on here. It's just disappeared. There we go. So on the coloring on there. Sorry, I know it's on here. I'm sure it's on here. Sorry, everybody. So, it's on the leaves there. Yeah, so you're just going to use, actually, I don't think it's, let's just do the leaves first. And then we're gonna, so on the leaves anyway, so with your leaves there, you're gonna do your final assembly. So you start taping the flowers and buds onto a half length 20 gauge wire. And so then once they've been grouped together, spray with hairspray, all right? Now, so with you, when you do the coloring on here, so everybody, I think, oh, sorry, I think this has been missed off. I apologize for that. But anyway, it's really very easy because it's just a little tiny bit of green. This is equal amounts of light apple green and prairie green. These are two colors we used in the winter white spray, so you've got them on your download for that. But all I've done is I just mixed those two colors together. So this is a technique I use on quite a few flowers. So you just would take a little bit of each of those greens. So you've got a little bit, so it just wants to be about equal amounts, okay? And that just is going to go on to the very tip of this, all right? So all you're going to do then, you're just going to brush that and that's pretty much it, all right? So you're just going to put a little tiny bit of that soft green around where the calyx meets, so you're just going to get a little bit of very soft green there. So very, very basic, all right? So just a little bit of so that's going to go on first, all right? So you'd of course do all of your flowers and your buds, all right? Now then you're going to put them together. Now in your list it has you need a 20 gauge half length wire. Now of course depends on what sort of vase you're going to put this in or container, and you can just cut this down. But if you know it's going to go into a shorter, like if you were going to, like, say for example, put your snowdrops into a little vase like this, you can of course just use like a quarter length wire, okay? But anyway, so you're going to take your, and then you're going to do the main assembly here. You were just going to put your, so final assembly, so start taping the flowers and buds onto a half length 20 gauge wire, and then taping about 3/4 of the way down the stems, all right? So you want to tape about where the floral tape finishes. So they're quite long stems, okay? And you can use here, you can use then this is half width tape you can use for final assembly. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go around. So of course you just would go round and round and round. So I'm just going to get this one out of my container here so you can sort of see the idea. So you're just going to do your grouping of flowers like this. You see how you're just going to go round and round and round, and just going to just put those all on so they will go like this. Okay, then once you've done that, you then would so then you're going to then once the flowers and buds have been grouped together, spray with hairspray, and then brush the top of the small leaves on each flower and bud with that's going to be done with the glaze we're going to use on the leaves, all right? So we're just going to go around here like this, and then once you've done that all the way over, you're just going to just spray that with your hairspray, okay? So you just would spray that with your hairspray, all right? That's just going to just set the color and the dust. Remember, it acts like a fixative, all right? And then we're going to use some, I'm using here the Sculpey glaze. This is the Sculpey product. It's called satin glaze. Now if you're doing this with sugar, of course you can't spray because you get the flowers will all be, so you can use just like a leaf glaze, a diluted confectioner's glaze for that. But I'm going to just use my Sculpey product here. And then what I would then do is I just would brush this onto the leaves, all right, because these are going to be like a little bit shiny. And you know, we've spoken about that before. You know, sometimes when we do certain projects, we're going to put the glaze onto the calyx as well, all right? But you're just going to brush this on. Now these ones, of course, I've just done, but you know, even if we left them for 10 minutes, they're not going to move around or anything. So that's going to give you your little glaze onto there, okay? And then on your leaves, all right, so on your leaves there, you're going to let dry a little, then tape the base with quarter width tape and floral tape brush over the leaf with glaze such as a Sculpey satin glaze. So here what you would then do is once your leaves have dried for a few minutes, you're going to take the quarter width tape. Now just do this so that the base of the leaves will be the right sort of color. So just gonna tape over here. So that leaf is still a little soft. This one is a dry one. I made this earlier on, so just going to put these on. Okay, so of course just let them dry, but they don't need long to dry, and by the time you get the 12 of them done, they will be okay. And then you'll take the as I said, the Sculpey, using here a larger brush. I don't put any color actually on these leaves, but just, and also remember this particular product, when you put it on, it looks almost like white glue. It will go on opaque, and then it just will become, as I said, clear. but you're just going to put that on to your, and you're just going to brush this on. Of course, you'd have your 5 flowers and your 3 buds first, and then you're going to take the leaves here, and of course these just need to dry for a couple of minutes. All right, so you just would take your leaves. Remember, this is water soluble, so you're just going to clean this brush in water, and then I've just got a little obviously container lid I'm using that on. And then you see what you would then do is you just would then just brush your, and then you just would attach your leaves. So you just will attach the leaves to the base here like so. Okay. So I'm just showing you here just 1 flower and 1 bud. But of course, if you were doing like a little small gift for somebody, remember you always want to work in odd numbers. So I would probably suggest like at least 5 leaves, maybe 2 flowers and 1 bud. And that would make a really cute little smaller version of the large spray you can see here. All right, a really beautiful flower, and of course you could do more than this. And so once you get this finished, all right, so you're going to have this finished, then you would of course decide on what you're going to put it in. Now, so I chose a little flower pot, and I've just put some styrofoam pieces in there. So it's a good idea, just keep a box of like odd pieces, and I've got some moss, which you can hot glue or use the little wire staples like we've done on other projects. So that's one option. All right, the other thing you could do is you can of course use, like it talks about, you can also use the technique we used in for the pansies we did last year. And so what you do there is you just fill that with styrofoam, and I've just used some brown air drying clay in the top of it. I've textured it with a calyx texture mat, and then I just used some acrylic paint to paint this. All right, so you could do it so it looks like soil. And then, but you can use all different types of containers. You know, you can use like little tiny, you know, like something like a little teacup like this. You could use obviously little vases, like little flower pots. So, you know, different things you maybe have around the home. You could use these depending on where this is going to go. If you wanted something more contemporary, this is a cute little square container. So there's lots of fun ideas there. And then something that I do a lot of times with like especially air drying clay is you can put these in a little vase, but you can create the effect of looking like water. So there are products that you can order. This is a product I ordered online. It's called Craft Water. So it's made by Flora Craft, and so you can get this on Amazon. And this is a lot of times in some like craft stores and florists, you'll see arrangements of silk flowers that are in like, they look like they're in water. And so this product is, as I said, you can microwave this, or you can put it in a pan of hot water, and so it becomes sort of quite liquidy. And so what you can actually do then is you could take this product and you could pour it into the vase. All right, so you could pour it into the vase coming up a couple of centimeters, about 3/4 of an inch. And then what you can do is, but before you do that, what you would need to do is make sure that say if your snowdrops are going to sit in there, that they're not too long. All right, so you could just of course cut these down. And what they suggest when you work with this, all right, is that you brush over this with white glue. So if you actually just take your white glue like this, and you just brush over the stem, because sometimes, like with some of the darker floral tapes, the color can bleed out of those, all right? So you just would brush over the stem. It's in the directions there. So what you would then do is you'd brush over the stem of this with white glue, all right? So you just can hold it with a pair of pliers, brush over that, let it dry, and then you'd fill that up with your water, however much you wanted there, and then you can just pop your little flowers into there, and then you can use like a little bit of masking tape or, you know, a cotton ball to secure those. But you see then what it means is the flowers are going to be set in there and they look like they're actually growing in water. All right, and another way you can do that is that if you want to have the stems so looking like the natural stems, what you would then do is when you do the taping, all right, so when you tape the leaves on, you don't tape all the way down, you just tape at this point here. And then, so what you're actually going to do is that means you'd have 12 single wires, and then you'd have the wires from here. So you'd have almost just like looking like natural wires. You push them together, and then when you put them into here, they're going to spread out, so they will look like the natural wires of the snowdrop. You see? But you see how you just would have the natural wires. But I've used them in that technique as well. But it's just giving you ideas. But this would be really, really cute to use for a gift for somebody. Then, you know, as I said, I'm putting this in the little flower pot here. So just going to pop this in the little flower pot like this. And then of course you can just arrange your leaves as you know, no maintenance there. It doesn't need to be watered. It doesn't, not going to die. You know, in 5 years, 10 years time, it's still going to look lovely. And then, you know, like I had from display the other day, but like this is just like a glass cloche. You know, this is also really nice because when you have flowers like this, a lot of times you have them under a sort of a cloche like this. So you could put these for a display. You know, you can use these, for example, I've used a little cake stand here. So this is a little black and white cake stand. I've got a little black mat on there. So again, you see then putting that on there, you could have that in the center of a table. You know, if it was obviously you had a black and white color combination. So it really gives a lot of presence to the whole thing. But anyway, so that's how you would do your snowdrops. So really fun, fun flower to do. All right. And as I said, lots of ideas and looking forward to seeing everybody post in how you've used these. But you know, there's lots of fun containers. You could put these in a jam jar if you wanted something a little bit more rustic looking, a little glass, you know, jam jar. You can do all sorts of fun things. And of course, you can just move these around a little bit. But you see, you've got the glaze on the top of the, you see the glaze on the top here. So that would sort of match because that's almost like your calyx. And so as I said, on some projects, like in the summer when we come on to do, we're going to do like a month of English style roses, like garden roses, old-fashioned garden roses. And that's where sometimes you would put the glaze on the calyx, you put the glaze on the hip, on the thorns, you know. So again, if you're going for just a more natural look, but a lot of times, especially on sugar ones, we just usually glaze the leaves. Normally the back of the calyx I don't worry about, but it's something you can totally do on air drying clay, or with sugar you have to do that with a brush. You can't use the spray lacquer because if you sprayed the glaze on the calyx, you're going to get the spray also on the petals as well. All right. And so anyway, so this is our, as I said, finished snowdrop. And of course, as I said, you can do little small ones, but you know, there's lots of fun ideas. This is, for example, like a little teacup. So, you know, you could put just like a little small, you can imagine if you just had, say, 2 flowers and a bud and then 5 leaves, you could do it in a little teacup. Be a really, really cute little gift for somebody. As I said, as a small gift for somebody's birthday or get well or whatever, but just giving you ideas of how to arrange those. All right. And so I hope everybody has enjoyed today's lesson. And sorry, we're just going to bring the camera up. So I hope everybody has enjoyed today's episode on making the snowdrops. And you'll have fun making those. As I said, I apologize, there isn't about the color in there. So you're just going to put just a little tiny bit of the light green and prairie green mix just on the very top of the calyx. All right, so just a very basic coloring. You know, as I said, you can use your snowdrops. And snowdrops just come in this one color, all right? The greens sometimes vary a little bit, but as I said, it's not a flower that comes in lots of colors or variations of color, but are very nice. Now, there is also a double snowdrop, all right? So if you were doing a double snowdrop, how you would do that is you do the first stage, the heart-shaped petals, that you'd let it dry a little bit, then you would do the next one flat. So a little bit like Lysianthus. So you do 2 layers and then you would do the outer skirt on top. But have fun with that, and as I said, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. So I will be posting the, as I said, as soon as I finish this, I will be posting the link for the Q&A on Thursday. So remember, if you have any questions, even if you can't join me live on Thursday, just post your questions, anything related to the winter project or anything else. And as I said, I'll answer those on Thursday, and then you can catch up with that later. Have fun with your snowdrops until Thursday. Sweet wishes. See you soon. Bye.